Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Film Like a Girl. I'm your host, Catherine Mora, and this month I am so happy to welcome our guest, Mandy Rodgers. She is the founder and CEO of Mandy K Marketing. Mandy, hi.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Yes, me too. Yes, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
And congratulations again on having the podcast. I think this
Thank
is great.
you. Thank you. Yes. So, for those of you who are like first time listeners or first time viewers, Film Like a Girl is a podcast where every month we celebrate and elevate women who are working in the film industry in various different roles because the film industry is just so vast and there's so many different career options. So, this is a way that we can share kind of like the behind the scenes, the potential journeys that you can take while also celebrating lovely women such as Mandy who are doing it. They're like working, they're thriving. It's amazing. So, yeah.
Trying, thriving, surviving, all of the things.
Well, so to get us started, Mandy, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? A little bit about what you do, because again, founder and CEO of your own marketing agency, which is like amazing. We love a girl boss.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So it's so funny. Like when I was growing up, I just loved movies so much to the point that, I was reading books about movies. I was making lists of movies. I was watching, Turner Classic Movies. I just was doing everything I could to consume things about movies. And I had tons of magazine subscriptions and all of that. Me and my mom would go to Blockbuster every Tuesday when a new movie came out. We'd come home and watch it. And I wanted to watch everything, even things that I shouldn't watch at the time. I wasn't just like, "Oh, I wanna watch Disney," which I love also,
Mhm.
but I was like, "I wanna watch Pretty Woman" at the age of 4, and my mom's like, "Well, we're gonna wait a minute."
Good call.
Yeah, she's like, "You can watch her try-ons and dresses, and then we're gonna, circle back." So, I was just always consuming film, and once I got older and I started having to figure out what my life was going to be and a career path for me, I started thinking, what can I do to get paid to watch movies? I didn't necessarily want to make them or be in them. I did do drama and acting and things like that, but I really just wanted to consume the media, talk about it, promote it for people. And I started looking at the career of journalism and I majored in magazine journalism and film studies at the University of Georgia. And that was my whole thing. I was gonna write for Entertainment Weekly. I was gonna move to New York. I wrote for the school paper there, the Red and Black, which is amazing. And I did study abroad for the Cannes Film Festival through them, which was
Nice.
really cool and just
Yeah.
amazing, incredible experience. I did tons of internships. I was always doing a lot. And that's what I wanted. I was ready. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Then I graduated college and, it was a time when jobs were scarce across a lot of things and people were like, "You're not gonna get a job in this career," and so I tried a couple of things and then I just decided I'm gonna move to Los Angeles. New York had been the plan, but I knew more people in LA and I knew more people just kind of going out. There were a ton of people from my college, University of Georgia, go dogs, that were going to LA at the time after we graduated. So I went that way and I did a bunch of odd jobs. I could do an entire hour on the crazy things that I was doing to try to get work in Los Angeles in the journalism industry and just, I was on red carpets and I was doing this and it was fun, but I wasn't really making a living, right, doing it. And so I fell into publicity. I did the internship and I hadn't really thought about the other side of it, like the publicity, marketing, promotions. I hadn't thought about that as being an option, but it really took everything I'd learned and everything I had done and just kind of spun it in a different way. And long story longer, I got a job with an agency doing tons of film promotions, and we were digital focused first. It was an online focused, online publicity, social media as that was starting to really become a thing. Bloggers were a new, burgeoning thing that was happening.
Yeah.
Like mom blogs were everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were having to educate them about the importance of mom blogs, and so that's where I really honed my craft in publicity, marketing, promotions, and then I was there for 11 years, and so I grew up with that company, had a great experience, so many opportunities. By the end, I was VP of client services, leading a team. responsible for a ton of new business and revenue, tons of client relationships, leading our entire kind of like influencer marketing department. And then COVID hit, and I just started rethinking a lot of things. And I think a lot of us did at the time, just
Yeah.
those moments of what is my life and what am I doing? And I decided to move back to Atlanta, where I am now, and be closer to family and some friends. I moved back and just have a little bit more of a balance. LA is great and I love it and I'm there all the time still, but it's very go, go, go,
Yeah.
as New York is as well. And so I just needed a little break. And I was gonna kind of coast on work stuff for a bit and build up time with family and friends and dating and whatever. And then I was like, I think I'm also gonna start a business.
Yes. We love it.
So I took all of the skills and everything that I'd learned and just everything that I had done in those 11 plus years, and I was able to, kind of do it on my own, which has been amazing. And so now I handle influencer marketing is a huge part of what I do as we've worked
Yes.
together on some things, and I've expanded a ton. So film is still really, really important and pivotal to me. But as we know, with the industry being a little crazy, as I'm
Yeah.
sure we're gonna talk about. It's been great to also do Broadway opportunities. I've done a lot in New York. I now work with live entertainment companies, including Feld Entertainment, who they produce Monster Jam and Disney on Ice and all of those shows that tour around the world. So it's all entertainment based, but I've tried to kind of diversify and have my hands in different, areas and avenues. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been 3.5 years now.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, because like you were saying, COVID happened and everybody's we're all inside. We're alone with our thoughts for the
Yes.
most part. A lot of like reevaluating and everything. Can you walk us a little bit through like how you just made that decision to like start your own business?
Yes, yes. So, it's so funny, I had been, working at an agency, had a great experience, I'd been with them for so long, in a lot of ways it was like a family, we'd all grown up together, but I think during COVID, we actually my team stayed very busy during that time, but like you said, at home, and so there was still a lot of time by yourself and reflection, and so first was the decision to leave Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and a lot of people thought when I was leaving Los Angeles she's gonna leave her last agency, but really that wasn't even the plan. People had been telling me for a long time, "You can start your own business, you could do this on your own," because I really was doing every aspect of running a company, but within
Okay.
a company. And
Right.
I was responsible for the contracts, and I was responsible for our team in a lot of ways, but I had the backing of a larger group, had that protection in a way, but there were still some things that, you weren't as autonomous, right? I had a lot of freedom, which was awesome, but there were just some things that I was like, "Oh, I would do this differently," or, all of that good stuff. So, I was very resistant to the idea, but people kept saying it, and all of these women who I look up to and mentors that I have in my life who had done it themselves kept just saying, like, "You could do this." And so I think I had to change my brain and realize, "Okay, I've really done everything I can do where I currently am. What does that next step look like?" And so first I just wanted to take some time and reevaluate, but people immediately, which I'm very lucky, were calling to hire me for things very quickly. So it was really an easy knock on wood transition for me because I really was doing so many pieces. Working at an agency, you're having to do a lot of that stuff. I have some friends and colleagues who have gone from a studio being in-house to trying to do consulting, and it's a little different because it's just a different framework of what you have to do and think about, and I was already really doing it. But then
Yeah.
I just was able to transition to my own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's like the thing I feel about the film industry in general. You have a lot of people who they're within like a studio or a corporation within a larger company. And then you have a lot of people who are like trying to break out and just do it on their own. And it's hard to make that leap from one to the other.
Yes, I think it is. I think there's a lot of skill sets that are obviously transferable to both roles. And it's so funny because my goal was to get to a place where I would go in-house. Like, I would work for a Disney or Universal or Warner or whatever, and I never really thought I wasn't, like, a business wanting entrepreneur, like, I didn't want to do it. It wasn't, like, something I wanted to do. I say I accidentally became a business owner. I've led that way.
Mhm.
But, and so the skills that you need when you're in-house, it's a lot of managing and talking and strategy and, really, really important high level thinking. But sometimes this isn't across the board. It's a
Mhm.
little bit of a generalization, but sometimes it's less about the nitty-gritty work and the reports and like tracking all of the little breaks that come through, And so I think it's sometimes shocking when people try to transition back. I always tell people, work for an agency at some point because if you want to do this kind of marketing, I think because you learn just a ton about balancing clients and priorities and actually getting into the nitty-gritty of what the work is and the deliverables are. And I think that helps being able to then speak to them on a higher level if you go in-house at a studio.
Yeah. Yeah. How about would you say the workload, because I know obviously, like, as a business owner, like, your workload is a lot different, but in terms of, like, projects, would you say that it's, like, kinda the same, like, you're balancing the same amount of projects at a time as you would in an agency? Or have there been times where, like, you're like, "Wow, I have a lot of clients all at once?"
Yes, I would
Yeah.
say yes, you are always balancing well, you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to have that work and that business, and I've been very lucky, I've stayed very busy and steady, so I'm grateful to that. I think what I hear from with studio is, like, there's more pops, and
Mhm.
everyone's kind of structured differently, right? Like, some
Yeah.
studios, I think they're like, "Oh, you have 25 titles a year." Some studios are like, "Oh, you have 4." But those are really big moments throughout the year, and then you kind of
Mhm.
have a down, time. I don't as much have a downtime, but I'm very lucky and I'm very glad, but I don't have as much of a downswing because as soon as I get off, like, a giant project with someone and they're all kinda like, "We're gonna regroup and take a minute," I'm, like, right back into whatever's next, which
Right.
I do like. I like being busy and I like that, pace, but
Mhm.
it's not for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be a lot. It can be a
It
lot.
can be a lot. It can be a lot. It can be a lot, and even when you're doing what you love, like, I love what I do. I love movies. I mean, as you can see, like,
Yes.
this is just what I have anyway, on top of being able to work on it, so I love it, but, there are times that you're like, "Okay, I need to just go to bed."
Yeah. Well, so one big project that I know you had, and I'm sure for people, like, if you're scrolling on social media, you have to have seen it, the Jurassic World Rebirth Thailand
Oh,
trip.
yes. I know it feels like we just finished that because we kind of did. Yeah. I know that was incredible. Universal does a great job with creating experiences and going to locations. We've done a ton of really incredible things. Like the last Jurassic, we went to Malta, which was
Nice.
incredible because that's where it was
Yeah.
filmed. And we've done, Norway for How to Train Your Dragon and London for James Bond. And so it's one of those pieces, and so to go to Thailand was just incredible. I mean, I had never been that far from here.
Yeah.
That
It's a
was
long
def
trip.
Yeah, that's a bit of a hike, right?
Yeah.
Time zone is completely different, you
Mhm.
are just in a whole other world. So it's really awesome. It was an amazing opportunity to work with that team on promoting the digital release of the film and having amazing talent on board. We had the director, Gareth Edwards, and Jonathan Bailey, Audrina, and it was an amazing, incredible experience. And Thailand as a place is, oh my gosh, everyone is so nice. It is just they call it the land of smiles, and I understand legitimately why, because, I mean, everyone was just so kind, and the food was great, and we got very lucky on weather. We went during the monsoon season, and we literally had no rain. There was some rain at night, a couple of nights, but, I mean,
Mhm.
we could have been completely rained out, and we had nothing. But, yeah, it was awesome. We organized press and influencers to come see some of the filming sites
Mhm.
of Jurassic World, interview some of the talent, have amazing, food, and be completely immersed in Thailand traditions. We worked with a tourism board there really closely, which was great. So we were able to give them a taste of authentic Thailand on top of, the film experiences and all of that great content that they got to shoot. So it was awesome for us. It was pitching the media, but also organizing, some of the itineraries and the show flows and the schedules and kind of babysitting, not for lack of a better word, some of the making sure you have your field trip groups and you're
Right.
you're
Yeah.
on the bus and we don't lose you and all that logistics and stuff. So it was me, a ton of people from Universal, additional agencies, and then I had two on my team there as well.
So from because that's like a huge like undertaking. How long would you say from like planning to execution? Like how long was that
So it's
period?
a great question. It wasn't as much time as you would think. I will say, so
Okay.
the Universal team had been planning the idea of this for a while. So they did a scout to Thailand back in end of April, early May. And so they had a lot of it figured out as far as what the ideas were and the locations were and the hotels were and the restaurants were. And found a lot of amazing places that were very Jurassic. And so they had a great outline of what we could do. And then there's we have to have everything approved, of
Yes,
course.
of course.
And we also, have to get talent on board and all of these things. And they were in the theatrical window. So there was a lot that had to happen very quickly. So once we got actual, like official green light, it was about 2 weeks before I was in Thailand. And then
Oh my
about a
god.
week additional. I know. But yes,
Oh my god. Wow.
I know. Yeah, it was a whirlwind, but it was great. I mean, they had
Yeah.
so much stuff figured out before, which we couldn't have done it from
Mhm.
scratch at that point. So it
Yeah.
was, at least we knew the nuts and bolts of what we wanted to do, but I wasn't able to invite people to come until it was about 2 weeks before I left
Oh,
and
wow.
3 weeks before they were going to leave about. So
Okay. Okay. Wow.
I know. Well, it's so funny. So much stuff is happening last minute. I think it's always been like that with marketing and PR and all of these events, but it is becoming more and more. And I think with film and the release strategies and all the different windows that are happening, and, there used to be a larger window between theatrical and when it hit these other platforms. And that's just changed so much. So things are just on kind of like hyper speed, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of quick turnarounds, I've noticed. Would you say so you would say that that's definitely the speed of everything's been happening faster, like
Yes, things are happening faster, and so it makes it hard because you want to be really creative and do these amazing ideas, and you do have restrictions of how long things just take, how long partnerships take to get off the ground, how long it takes to get on people's schedules and radars for things, how long it takes to create items. I do a lot of unboxings and, merch boxes and stuff, and just to create a custom box, you need at least 2 or 3 weeks. So, if are planning, getting budgets approved, that all takes time. So,
yeah.
before we would have 6 weeks to plan, and now it's like 3, so or less.
Oh, oh,
So
so the boxes so, like, PR like, you're the one who's sending the it's not like the studio sends them to you or you send them a list, it's like you are, like, making them? Like, sending them
Well,
to be made?
a lot of them have a warehouse
Okay.
fulfills, which is great. I
Gotcha.
have packed things here on occasion as well, but a lot of the bigger studios have an actual warehouse that just it's
Okay.
like their fulfillment center that has everything there from whatever product you know, and tons of fun stuff, I'm sure, if you, like, went through the archives, right? But
Mhm.
they will ship everything there, and then that team will pack it up, get the packing paper and all of that good stuff. So, a lot of the
Okay.
time we're concepting or doing concepts of what the items could be. Sometimes we work with licensees
Mhm.
and, there's some stuff that's already been created. If we're going to do a Funko or something like that, then, that's already there. But then if we want to do something really custom, sometimes we have to go to our vendors and actually have that created. And that just takes time. And a lot of it is overseas and, so those timelines are tough now.
Yeah.
But But we usually still make it work. I mean, I think I'm really lucky. I work with a ton of amazing vendors that have been able to pull stuff out of their hats in crazy ways. I mean, we for Final Destination, we created a penny set, a coin set. So in that film, a penny is a huge symbol of things and it keeps recurring in the movie. And so we had this idea like, what if we created a custom penny coin collection and each one was pressed with a different death trap from the film?
Yeah.
So it was very unique, but we had to figure out how to create custom
Yeah.
pennies, in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. Just it I don't know if that sounds crazy to people, but it's harder than you think maybe too, it's not you could
Yeah.
just, custompennystore.com, but so I have some amazing vendors that have been able to do incredible things, for Twisters, we recreated the actual belt buckle that Gwen
Yes.
Powell, wears, and I had to have my designer redraw and trace what it looked like because we didn't have the printable file.
Mhm.
We had to figure out, which vendor we could go to have a custom kind of metal print that works as the belt buckles. All of that stuff is whenever I call my vendors, they're like, "What do you got for us? What crazy thing idea do you have?" I'm like, "What?"
It's like, but this also benefits you because now you have, like, all these things in your portfolio that you've done, like
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
and I tell them, and they get excited. I mean, I love a good coffee cup or tote bag as well, and we do those too, but they get really excited when it's something completely out of the box. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm making a custom penny set? Like, that's crazy."
Yeah.
And we want it to be like, either you'll collect it, display it, or you can use it. We try to I mean, I know, I understand, and we have to keep kind of upping the ante, right? Because there is so much being sent out to people, and I know that they're like, "Another one of these or that or whatever," so I'm like, "No, it's gonna be different."
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really cool when you get to see, like, just hearing about, like, the creativity that goes into creating all these boxes and, like, coming up with because yeah, it's true, like, I didn't think until now, like, a penny set, yeah, that's, like that shouldn't be too hard, but no, actually, when you think about it, it's like, "No, wait, actually, how do you go about doing that?"
Right, I know, and like, "Oh, wait, how do we create those things?" And even just the boxing and, how things are packaged and sizing, and that is not my strong suit. I am not a spatial size my brain doesn't do that. I come up with the ideas, and then I'm like, "Somebody else measure it and figure out what that even could be," because I have no idea. If you told me like, "Oh, we're at the stadium and how many people were there?" I would be like, "Oh, 3,000." They're like, "No, 300,000. You're insane." So it's not my strong suit. So you have to bring people in who can do the things that you are not as competent in.
Well, so that's a really great, point then. So as a business owner, when you're starting your business, how did you determine, like, your first hire, your next hire, like, which contractor is best to work with? Like, how are you determining, like, the people that you needed around you to run your business?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. I It's so funny because when I started out, I had come from a position where I was in charge. Like, had people that I was managing and I had a team, and I love teams and I loved managing and I love all of them, but I was also very burnt out by the process of that. I think it is a tough job when you're managing people, and I get it, like, they have things they wanna talk to you about, I understand, but so much of my day had become consumed with other things that weren't even the work,
Right.
and I get it, but I was like, "I need to just reset." So, I was very hesitant to have anyone work with me, for me, anything for a while, and then I would bring when I needed to scale up for a job, I had some freelancers that, I would test people here and there, I would bring people in for certain opportunities, and then I had some different people I used for, like, internships, and I tried different things out. I tried a virtual assistant for a while because I thought maybe that could help, and that didn't really go the way that I wanted to. Then I had other people come in and out that it's hard to find the right fit for what you need too,
Right.
right? Because we are scrappy, we are small but growing, and a lot of what I was needing help with was tracking Instagram stories, which sounds very but when you're sending out 5 mailers at a time, or you have, 2 events happening, and people often post to their Instagram stories, but it disappears in 24 hours. So a huge part of my day was just going through a list of people every day to make sure I was capturing the content, and I needed help with, like, that kinda stuff. So, anyway, I didn't actually hire someone until earlier this year. I got
Okay.
introduced to this girl, Nicole, who I say is my guardian angel, and she laughs, but it's true. So, just randomly introduced. It was the weirdest way that we got connected, and she needed work, and I was like, "Here you go. Do you wanna sit here and track these Instagram stories?" She's like, "Got you." And then she was just so good, so then I wanted to bring her on full time, brought her on full time earlier this year. Now we have another kind of intern also working with us, and I have, like, a freelance kind of pool that I can bring in for different things, and then I have, like, a graphic designer that I bring in for things when I need that, right? And then I
Right.
have vendors and people to create some of these items that I bring in for certain projects. And I think a lot of it is just kind of building your network of people, and trying different things too, like
Yeah.
some stuff doesn't work, or sometimes people can be not in the right position, and you can kind of rework, but and it's still a work in progress because I'm still very resistant to I don't want to get too big. I'm like, this isn't sustainable for it just to be me. But I also am very hesitant to get where I'm not involved in everything because I love knowing what's happening, working on the actual campaigns. I don't wanna get pulled off of that,
Right.
balancing a bit.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and I it's different for everybody in the industry where it's like how involved they wanna be, like, how much they want to, whether it's like you're doing a production company or you're doing, like, your own marketing agency, if you're doing, like, photography, cinematography, like, whatever it is you're doing in the industry, like, people have various desires of how big or small they want to be.
Yes, it's so true, and I mean, I have friends who have no interest in doing the, like, actual pitching of the media, like, they're like, "If I never pitch again, great," But I like that piece of it, and so that's why it's been hard for me to, like, at old places, to figure out that balance, because you do get to a position at certain companies and things where you can't do the things that you were more excited about, right? You are kind
Mhm.
of doing the meetings and the strategy, and that's great and important, but I like getting my hands dirty and being involved, and keeping those relationships with whether it's influencers or media, and knowing the landscape so that I can speak to it to my clients. So that it is hard, and it's a different balance, like you said, for everyone.
Yes, yes, and I will say, as we have worked together, I see you at whatever events that you're hosting, and I'm there. Like I see you, and you're working. You're on top of it. You're greeting everybody. You're making sure everything is taken care of. So yes, I know you like to get your hands
I
dirty,
do, I
definitely.
do, I do, and I like the events, and I like meeting people, and I like getting that, experience where you're going out and doing things, and I think especially because I do work from home, which I love, and I wouldn't change for anything anytime soon, but when there is an opportunity to be in the mix and see people and say hello, and, we're all kind of in this virtual silo sometimes, so I'm like, "We need to get out and still see people," so I love those opportunities.
How often, especially now with that things are everybody's kind of traveling normally again. Like how often a year would you say that you're traveling for events or for special projects or anything like that?
About once a month, I'm
Okay.
somewhere. So, last year, I was in Los Angeles every month for something, which was crazy, but this year, it's been a little bit less, but I've been in New York almost I'm either in New York or LA almost once a month, and then sometimes another random city will
Thailand.
pop in first. Yeah,
Go
yes.
to Thailand.
Thailand will just randomly pop on the calendar. Right, exactly, and love it. Like right now, I'm in a position where I can just take these opportunities. I can kind of, live out of a suitcase for a little bit if I need to. And I like doing that. And so I want to take as many as I can now, because who knows what the future will be? Who knows what my
Right.
life will be? I might at one point be like, no, I have these other priorities in my life that I need to take care of. And I might have, somebody that's like, please don't leave. Right now, I'm like, I'm just doing it. I'm taking
Yeah,
it. I love it. Getting those air miles, working out of airports or on planes or whatever it is.
I love it. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, were were you recently in LA for the Downton Abbey grand finale, or is that coming up?
Next week,
That's
yes.
next week,
So
okay.
when this is on air, it
Yes.
will have just happened.
There you go, there
So
you
that's the
go.
30th, yes.
Okay, okay, and what is that gonna be like?
Yes. So we are creating this is actually my 4th time working on the Downton franchise, which is awesome.
Yes, they
My
love
3rd
you,
film,
obviously, as they
right?
should.
Aw, I know, it is so funny. I worked on all 3 of the movies now, and I also worked there was, like, an immersive walkthrough experience that
Okay,
traveled for a bit for it, and that was in Atlanta. So that was one of my first kind of bigger Atlanta projects, which was great.
nice.
So I'm very familiar with the brand, but yes, this is the grand finale. It'll be coming to digital, and we're really excited. We're putting together so we're at for it's with the Langham Hotel in Pasadena. It's just a really beautiful amazing place. We're gonna do ballroom dancing, and we're gonna have vintage photo ops and vintage cars, and part of the film, there's, like, this whole sequence where they're at an outside carnival fair thing that they do as
Mhm.
a family, so we're bringing some of those elements in, and we'll have official costumes, and we'll have our jewelry partner there to, like you can try on jewelry, you can create a little, like, hat,
Oh
to
my
go with
goodness.
it, so it'll just be a whole Downton Abbey experience.
I love that. From the influencer side, like, yeah, when it's, obviously screenings are fun, red carpets, those are fun. When you get to do like an immersive experience like that, where it's like you get to actually like participate and do activities and kind of feel like you're more immersed within the world of the film or the show or whatever it is. Like that is so much fun.
Yes, and I love those things. I love them just as a person and a fan myself,
Hmm.
and I know that there's been a huge, growth of these kind of pop-ups and, experiential things, and I think that they're still really successful and
Yeah.
great to do. I mean, when would you necessarily wanna do, like, a ballroom dance class? Like, I don't know if you would, but here's an opportunity to do that and then have
Yeah.
a high tea and dress in your 1930s, you know summer garden party fair. So I think people really respond to that. And because so much is going in the direction of content creation and all of those pieces, people want to see a fun TikTok and they want to see
Yeah.
it right an Instagram reel. So it's like creating those moments that can really do well on social. And that's a
Yes.
huge part of what we were trying to do with the studios and with my other clients.
So then after like an event is done, after mailers are sent out, what does like the wrapping up look like for you? Like work getting back to the studio about like, okay, these are the results. This is, like you're saying, like collecting all the images and information from the influencers posting online. Like, what does that look like?
Yes. So lots of tracking of the coverage, lots of checking to see who's posted what, when, and capturing all of that. And every client is slightly different on what they want, but across the board, they want to see who's posted, what it looked like, what are the highlights. And hopefully everyone did. Of course, sometimes there's things that come up or things that happen or, schedules change, but it's just going through and kind of seeing what that looks like and then putting it all together in a report. Usually it's a Word document of some kind where there's like a summary with some stats of how many people posted, of what the potential reach was with social followers and things like that. And so we'll put all of that together and then outline, where they can link out. So if somebody posts something on TikTok or Instagram, we'll link to that piece. If they post it on their stories and it's disappeared, we have it kind of downloaded and captured so that they can still click through and watch that content. So, yeah, and so sometimes depending on embargoes and this and that, sometimes, a lot of the time they can post right away, but sometimes they're having to hold the content to a certain time and there's all of those pieces. So I try to like be really clear with anyone I'm working with on, these are the tags and this is what we're looking for and this is the timing so that it's really, easy to do and post and create the content on their side.
So, what can an influencer do? Because I have many influencer friends who will be listening to this, so this will be good information for them too. What can an influencer do to like make your job easier in terms of like, is it sending you the screenshots? Is it sending you like analytics? Like, what would you prefer to see from an influencer like after a post
Right.
goes live?
It's a great question. I think, and it's both sides. So, like, I do earned opportunities. So, like, for an event, we rarely pay. For a mailer, we rarely pay. But then I do also like paid content collabs where we're actually really working with them hand in hand, whether it's a script or whether it's a concept or whatever that looks like. And they're contracted and there's very specific things. So, for all of that, it's like, I want it all very organized as much as possible because we do have a very specific, I need this, this, this.
Hmm.
I need it to say these things, but you could say this in your own words, so that I'm like, please just read what I've requested. But then for the other experiences and things, honestly, just I love a heads up if the when the post goes live, it is helpful. So when people because we're tracking and we're looking but we have that like, "Oh, it went live," or even just like an update if somebody's running behind or if, "Hey, I got the mailer. I saw you wanted it live X time. I need another whatever. This is when it's gonna go live." Just like communication is really helpful too for us. And yeah, and just like using the tags and things that we send because that's really helpful to show the client, like, okay, they understand what this was for. We communicated it properly. Look at this amazing, stuff that they did. So, yeah, just communication, I think. And a lot of people are really great about it, and I really appreciate it. And, some people aren't as good as others, and I get it. Things get busy, but I love being able to showcase what they did because, the clients are watching too. I think that's something that I would want people to know is even though I'm the one communicating with them, the clients are seeing the reports, right? Like they're seeing,
Hmm.
oh, this TikTok was so engaging and amazing. I loved it. Or, oh, this picture was so great. Or this caption was so amazing. Or they got all of the, points across in their messaging or they were on time, whatever it is. And they'll start to see, oh, the people that aren't on the report or still pending or, they start to clock things too. So I want us all to look good. I want to look good. I want my team to look good. And I want everyone I'm working with to look good because I want my clients to continue to want to work with them too.
Right.
Right. So I try to give them the tools to do that. And you never know, like, you never know who's going to see some of these posts and could get them other opportunities, whether it's access or exclusive things or potentially paid opportunities
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I would imagine too, like you're saying, the studio is seeing it and their in house team is seeing it as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sharing with tons of people. You don't even know how far sometimes these reports are gonna go, right? So, we wanna make sure that you're putting your best foot forward because it isn't just this one thing?
Hmm. Yeah. No, definitely. Kind of a not off topic, but somewhat related, I guess. What would you say is like the hardest part about doing these events or like even just like running the business in general?
It's a good question. I think for the events, the hardest part is, I will say every time I get to an event and I feel like it's my personal birthday party, and say this all the time, that nobody's gonna show up to. Like, I literally am taken back to, like, that's never happened, but there's that feeling that no one's gonna come or nothing, and that has never happened, but every time I have this anxiety, especially when I'm working with people I haven't worked with before, or if it's a
Right.
different client or something that's not as much like rinse and repeat like some of my stuff. So, there's that anxious kind of piece of it. The rest of it, I mean, there's always an individual challenge, like, whether sometimes we're pitching things that it's just a busy time. And so not a lot of people are responding or the client might have expectations that are of a certain level. And you're like, look, we are competing with Marvel and this and that night. So there's
Right.
things like that for each individual. I think managing expectations of clients is a big thing. Very lucky that especially now I'm able to pick and choose really who I work with. So I have amazing clients and I love them and we have continued partnerships, but whenever it's a new person I'm talking to or I'll get referred a lot, which is great, and sometimes people understand marketing and what it looks like, and sometimes they are very, "Well, if I spend X amount of money, what do I get back?" And I think a lot of it too in the indie film space, right? The independent
Mhm.
film, I get it, like, this money is not a ton. They wanna see that every penny is spent in the right way, but I think there's an education process that we're constantly having to do on what is awareness versus what's paid results versus
Right.
marketing is such a kind of broad term, and people will come to me and just say, "I need marketing," and it's like, "What?" There's 75 things, that we could talk about, and so a lot of it is education, I would say, with clients, but it's fine, and I get it, and then there's times that they're not gonna get it, and I'm in a position right now, which I'm very lucky that I'm able to just be like, "Okay, that's not gonna work for me," and move on to something else, but, yeah, I would say that, and then as far as business running, it really is the staffing for me. I which I'm it's better now. I have amazing people right now that I'm able to depend on, thank goodness,
Good,
but
yes.
it is tough, and I understand the hesitation that people have of hiring and not hiring, and, I don't really have retainers, everything's pretty much project based, and it's nice because I have people that it's very recurring, like, I'm consistently working with a lot of my film clients, but it's very specific, and it's hard to plan, especially with things coming in so last minute, I'm like, "Oh, I don't have a ton for December," but last year, I didn't have a ton for December, and then it got super busy, so it's, like, things like that, and when I first started, I was a little bit more as soon as I would have any kind of lull, I was like, "Well, this is it. It was a nice run for those 6 months or a year or whatever,"
Mhm.
and then it would all come, and I'd be like, "Okay, this is fine," so I'm
Yeah.
trying to get better about that, but, I mean, in our industry, in the film I mean, it is you don't wanna take it for granted either, right?
Yeah.
Because there are people that are calling me and they're like, "What do you have? What can I do? Like, how can we work together?" Because it is such a weird time, I think.
Yeah. No, it is. It absolutely is. And because one, the film industry, I feel like when the strikes happened, that like first COVID just blew a hole in the side of the ship.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then it felt like we were finally getting back on track and then the strikes happened. And then that kind of just halted everything. And I feel like we're still trying to get back to normal in the
Yes.
industry after that.
Yes. It's a weird time, and I think things are cyclical, like, I feel like it's gonna come back,
Mhm.
but, I mean, even in Atlanta, we had such a huge boom of Marvel coming in and all of this production, and it was huge being here for that, and, you're hearing all these reports of Marvel pulling out and all of these things changing, and I think things will just, like, recycle in a different way, but it's interesting. It's wild, like, what is being greenlit, what's not, what money is being spent, what's not, and the position that people are in, which is a little bit different. Like, my actor friends and things like that, it's just very different than it was pre-COVID,
Yeah.
I think you're right, like, it didn't really get back because even after the strikes, then there were the fires, which
Yes.
also was
Yeah.
like, this bizarre, and that was kind of strange, and then I think
Mhm.
anytime there's an election year, things get weird just because of break people's brains
Yeah.
and stuff, so I think everyone's a little nervous to spend money and to commit.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true. And like you said, it's very cyclical. If this always is like in general with life, like this always happens. And then when you add everything that was already happening within the industry together, it's just yeah, it's a mess. But yeah, I feel like there comes a point with any industry too where it's like it hits a wall and
Mhm.
then almost like a pendulum, like it'll swing back. It goes to one extreme, it swings back and forth, like, and but, it'll equalize essentially is what I'm kinda trying to say.
Right, yes, and we don't even know what that's gonna look like,
Mhm.
in the future. I think streaming, as we've seen, has been such an interesting in some ways, it's, opened up so many doors for things, in some ways, it's kind of closed doors in other ways,
Yeah.
and So that's been an interesting evolution, but there's always going to be something,
Yeah.
and so yeah, we don't even know what the impact is yet, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I guess from your perspective then with that uncertainty in the industry, like what is your advice? Like how are you handling it? Like preparing for the future while still living in the moment?
Yeah, I know. It's so hard because I'm bad at this in real life also. I'm always just like, I'm a planner, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
a planner, I'm a list maker. I like to check things off. I have goals, I have all of this stuff. So even in my personal life, I'm like, well, it needs to be A, B, C, D. And that's just not real life. And so I am trying in both aspects, work and real life, to just live more in the moment and appreciate where I am now because for good and for bad, things change, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're at the worst of your moment and worst day, you will have a better day, right? And the
Mhm.
same thing when you're having like a great day, you'll have a bad day again, like everything is so it is trying to kind of stay in that and take advantage. So right now for me, I'm just trying, like I said, to take every opportunity I can and to keep diversifying where I can. And I think people in the industry, in the film industry, I don't know what this looks like for every individual role, but just
Mhm.
look at how you can diversify
Yeah.
yourself, how you can create opportunities that aren't the traditional, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
um, I think, like, I always say this too. I feel like networking is such a loaded negative connotation term now. I don't, I think
Yeah.
people hear networking and they're like, oh, that's so disingenuous and fake. But really, networking in relationships is everything. I would say in almost every industry, but especially this one. It is who you know, it
Mhm.
is who trusts you, it is who you are in front of at the right moment. There's a lot of
Right.
that too. So I think it is just building networks, in the right way, right? And you can do it in a genuine way.
Yeah.
But I think building relationships, offering to help people. There's so many people too that like don't do what you do. So how can you all kind of band together and pass things back and forth or, what does that look like? So I think building those communities is really important.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Would you say, because something you said before is still sticking with me, that how now you're in a position where you get to pick and choose, right? And I know that that's a position that like everybody wants to just get there right away, and it's not possible. We both know that it's not usually possible that you get to be in that position immediately where you can just do you can decide and pick, pick and choose. Um, and I know yeah, networking community is like a huge part of that. Was there anything else that, like, sticks out in your memory that was, like, a big part of getting you to that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so fun. I think it's a combination of obviously like doing the work, that's a huge thing, being consistent. I think people want to work with people they like. Which
Yeah.
sounds very basic, but it's true,
Yeah.
if you are the one that is more of the team player, that you're trying to make the client's life easier, that, I'm very close and friendly with a lot of my clients, which is great, and, they want to work with the people that they know they can trust and that will do the job, but also who are easy to work with, who make their lives easier, who just, don't come with a lot of, I don't know, other things,
Yeah.
So I think being easy to work with, I try to be. I'm sure I'm not always, but I try. And yeah, just building that reputation. And I think the other thing I try to do and I advise people to do is to be your biggest cheerleader. Some people I think aren't comfortable with it. I get
Yeah.
it. Some people I think look at it and they're like, oh, she's talking about what she's doing and da da da. But nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
Like I need to shout from the rooftops that I've done something cool and I'm excited about it. It's a genuine thing. But people are watching all the time. I think on social media, it's so interesting. You know this from your work and your position.
Yeah.
People will message me things that they've seen that I did that I had they didn't interact with it or whatever, but they saw it and it was in the back of their
Mhm.
mind. And then later they had this opportunity where they're like, oh, I need someone who knows about this thing. Oh, Mandy could be somebody to talk to. So I try to be good about like promoting myself and the company as much as I can too. And I do
Yeah.
advise people like keep your LinkedIn updated, keep your Instagram, whatever makes sense to you. And I think it's for anyone listening, right? Like any part of the film industry, whatever you can do, right? You need to be able to say, I worked on this really cool thing with whatever you're allowed to say, right? But I think people forget sometimes to put the energy into their personal footprint because they're busy working, which I get, and sometimes it gets pushed to the bottom, but I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah. And I think it's also like a lot of people get, and because this happens to me sometimes too, like you just get self-conscious, like
Totally.
you feel like either the imposter syndrome kicks in or you think people are going to think that you're bragging or that you're cringe or whatever. Like the whole conversation about like, oh, that's so cringe. It's like, yeah, but this was something cool that I did and maybe it'll lead to another cool thing and another cool thing. Like,
Yes, I know, and it is hard. I think for me, like, I'm so genuinely excited about whatever it was that I hope and I'm sure there's people that are like, "Oh, that's so gross," but, I hope for the most part it's an enthusiasm that comes through, and if you are in this industry and whatever you're doing, I would hope that you can have that
yeah.
excitement and then it feels like a genuine thing, and
Hmm.
you have to figure out, like, what you're comfortable with and what it looks like and what your digital footprint is, right? And it's different for everyone, but don't be afraid to, yeah, be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true because, like, for the most part, there are people, who work in the film industry. You work in a studio, so you have like your 9 to 5, but a good chunk of people in the industry are contract or gig or project based. So you really do have to put yourself out there if you want to keep getting work, like whether you own your own business or not.
Yeah, it's so true. And any of that gig economy, you need to be doing that stuff, especially now. There's just so much
Yeah.
competition, and there's just so much happening all the time, and people's attention spans are non-existent, right? So
Yeah.
have to like do feel like you're touching every piece of it, right? Like whether it's networking and relationships, whether it's shouting it out on your social media, whether it's actually like sending people individual thank you emails or,
Right.
and just asking people to get a coffee or some people will ignore it and say no, some people will do it. So I think it's just not being afraid, which is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Putting yourself out there is hard in
It's so
general,
hard.
but
I know. It's the worst. I hate it. But after you start doing it and you start getting in a routine of it, then it does become more natural, I would think.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I feel like once you start getting, like, the yeses, the nos, which are typically more often, will feel less difficult. Like, we have to stop taking things so personally because it's not necessarily always personal.
Right. So much is not personal. Like, I think a big thing that this was years ago, but that my mom told me, and it was very basic, but she's like, Mandy, no one is thinking about you as much as you're thinking about yourself. Like, it's just not possible. Everyone's thinking about their own thing. Like, they're not thinking about that weird thing that you said the other day, blah, blah, blah. I mean, odds are that they're not, right? And once you start thinking about how people's responses or actions really are just their own thing projected in a different way onto somebody else, that's always really helpful too. It's hard and it's not easy, but it is true. We're all just like doing our best and thinking about ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. Like, occasionally, I will think back to, that moment where, like, something embarrassing you did years ago pops in your
Yeah.
head again, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I remember that." But then I try, this is a new thing I'm trying, I, like, stop and I think to myself, "Catherine, like, the person that you were with, let's say your college roommate, your friend, like, they have likely done so many awkward or embarrassing things, and you don't remember any of them. If you try to think right now, you don't remember that embarrassing moment that they had as well. So they definitely aren't remembering your embarrassing moment."
No,
Yeah.
it's so true. Everyone has their own stuff
Yes.
that takes up all the space,
Yeah.
for better or for worse, right?
For better or for worse, yeah. Before we wrap up, if there's like one piece of advice you could give to someone who's listening to this podcast who wants to break into the film industry, whether it's through owning their own business or marketing or just like in general, like what would be that advice?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think we've said some good stuff like
Yes.
networking and all of that, but then I think like two things. I think women what I say is, and everyone's different, but there have been so many times when, I don't know, like, don't be nervous to be excited about stuff. Don't be nervous to, like, be genuinely who you are. Like, sometimes, like, I love sparkles and I love Taylor Swift and I love all this stuff, right? And I'll walk into a room and maybe I have been underestimated by people in the room if they don't know me. And that happens sometimes, but like use that as your superpower in a way because I again, I just think being genuine is so important, right? And there's different layers to anything that you're in, and obviously in a business meeting, you're gonna be a little bit different than on a podcast or with your friends or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think something that I try is that people it's kinda what you see is what you get, and I think people can tell, and I don't shy away from the things that I really like, even if they're girly or whatever. And if somebody wants to think that I don't know how to run a business and do what I'm doing because I like a bunch of Funkos, then that's their prerogative, you know? And I think being confident in that and using what you're really enthusiastic about in the best way because I mean, there's been times that I've come out of meetings and they're just excited that I'm excited. And they're like, well, I want to work with her because she's really excited about what we're doing, and she's
Yeah.
bringing like a good energy and a good positive response. And, I mean, there's definitely things I worked on that I haven't been as enthusiastic as other things, but I just think I don't know if that answers your question, but just,
Yeah.
to kind of not shy away from yourself, I guess, which
Yes.
is very like whatever. But I think a lot of times women, especially, are it's hard. It's hard because I think we are very layered, but we can, wear the cute dress and do the thing and then still go into a business meeting and know what we're doing. And don't be afraid to have both sides if you want.
Yes. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And like, basically I feel like that's the whole concept of The Man by Taylor Swift. So
Yes. True. I know. It's so true. And, men are great too. I have amazing male friends and clients, all of the things. But I have also been in rooms with people who thought, oh, I can undercut this deal because she's like, when I first started my business, I think people thought because it was a new business, oh, like she's desperate for the work, all of these things. Like she's just starting out, she's young, whatever. But I was like, I've been doing this for a very long time. So, and I know what I'm talking about and I'm confident what I'm talking about. And you do need a network of people to help say maybe check that too though. So whatever that is, if it's family, if it's friends, if it's colleagues, if it's mentors, especially if you are going to go into some kind of solopreneurship, you do need a good network and base around you to help some of those moments where you're like, "Wait, do I know what I'm talking about?"
Right, yeah.
Do you actually know this? But, yeah, like, I've done a couple of speaking engagements, like, at my college and things like that, and I'm actually doing, like, a middle school career day on Friday that I've done a couple of times, and those moments are so helpful because when people ask you even this, like, when people ask you questions and you start saying what you've done and what you've been through and what you've learned and what you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've actually done stuff. Like, I actually
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about," you know? So but just, like, having those opportunities too, I would say, and, like, talking to, people that you trust is
Yeah.
really important. Like, having a good foundation.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
Hey,
Well, Mandy, thank you again so much for joining me on the podcast.
thank you. This was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yes, no, this was amazing. Thank you. And for everyone who is listening slash watching, thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Mandy's socials in the description so you can, follow up on her and see like all the fun stuff that she's working on. I know you have like a secret project that's coming up soon. We won't discuss it too much, but I know that you have something coming up.
I know, I know. Well, if this is October 3rd, I will have just worked with Loungefly, which is one of my favorite brands, on their Wicked for Good collection launch. So once this is live, you'll be able to, like, see it.
So you guys will be able to go immediately after seeing this episode
Immediately
and
after and purchase all of the beautiful backpacks and wallets and things that they have
yes,
because I love Loungefly. I love
Loungefly
it.
is
This is
so
my first
good.
time working with them. I'm a huge fan of the brand. I'm obviously a huge Wicked fan, as you know, and so it was just a perfect combination of loves and things. And I think that job, I was recommended by people, but then not even knowing what the job was for on the initial call with the team, I was wearing a Wicked t-shirt.
That's
Like, not
perfect.
even knowing, and it's like, sometimes just being yourself in your own
Mhm.
element helps.
Like you said, just be yourself and just embrace it. Yep.
Yes, yes, we have to.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Mandy, thank you again so much. And I'll see slash talk to all of you lovely, lovely people next month. Bye.